Doo-doo. What's going on, everybody? All right, so I've been having some technical difficulties going on over here for some daggum reason. Hopefully it went on to the event, but we're having some technical issues when it comes down to trying to make sure that we've got the live event going on, and I've been having some technicalities when it comes down to starting these events here on live stream with the events on time. So forgive me for just we're gonna jump right over here to my profile. You guys jump on, share, tag some folks. But man, I tell you, when it comes down to the overall stuff that we're working on, let me make sure I've got this updated in here for everybody who is supposed to be there. And let's go to the comments and make sure that we are ready to rock and roll. Make sure they've got the link over here as well. All right, but type in, like y'all say, hey, let me know where you're watching from, and let's go ahead and jump on into it, man. You guys are hopefully you guys are having a pretty decent week this week. It's been absolutely bonkers for me and my team. We have been going through so many great things when it comes to just the diversity of developments that are happening from land stuff. We were talking with some folks that have land over in Minnesota and Florida, up in Arkansas. We're getting projects going through on North Carolina, which is fantastic. And now with Alabama, of course, is growing, and it's just phenomenal. So with all of that being said, there's a lot that we're working on and things that are finally going through their development timelines. And let me make sure that I've got this. Make sure everyone else over on the event here on LinkedIn has what they're looking for. Man, this is such a daggone bummer. Let me make sure these guys have what they need. Let's see. That's a first. All right. So let's make sure. Oh, Jonathan's sweet. Let's go ahead and make sure we've got a group text going. But y'all drop in. Let me know what you're up to. Let me know how you're doing and what you guys have going on. When it comes to projects and the land that most folks are working with, there's a lot of times where a lot of folks are trying to just do the best that they can. I mean, I've seen a lot of people when it comes to projects that they've been considering and they're not 100% sure on it. And that's the beauty of our engineering team, because we've got the ability to work with the modular and ensure that the focus of what you're trying to do and what you're looking at, it makes sense, not just from the underwriting perspective, but what is the cost of construction, who's planning to live there, and who's planning on whether it's you're doing a build to rent or if you're doing a build to hold, if you're doing some other stuff as far as trying to make things really work in your favor, because that's the whole point of pretty much the whole point of development anyways. If you're not making money, you're doing something wrong. And so a lot of folks who try to make people feel weird about making a profit, I've never understood. And so, but let me hang on. So technical. All right, let's get to send that to everybody. All right. But man, it's gonna be a really cool year. There's a lot of stuff that we're working on from the RV resort space. We've got a pretty decent size RV resort up in Tennessee that we're working on, and it's pretty cool because with that project, we're going to do some pretty cool things with the event space that's going to be on property. And then also too, when it comes down to the stays that we're going to have on there as well, the variety is going to be really freaking sweet. So just really cool. We're doing neighborhoods. We're working on RV resorts with event spaces, and just really pulling together some cool concepts that not just have only been proven, but also when it comes to land and those who are just debating on what to implement, because you don't want to have a whole entire issue with the uploaded engineering fees. That doesn't do anybody any good. And so for the sake of talking through what actually makes sense right now in the marketplace, there's a lot of things that people need to consider when it comes down to what you're going to do with your land. If you own land, or if you're looking at doing something with land, that's what I want to really hit on, because land, I love it, but man, it can be a blank canvas, and a lot of people get paralysis by analysis, and that's why you need to really have a team that actually can handle all the moving pieces for representing at the city, figuring out civil engineering. I mean, everything. Like, you got to have a good, well-rounded team, so that way you're not stressed out and trying to figure out what you need to do to cover your hind end because you didn't think of something, or you didn't know to look for something, right? So good stuff, man. I mean, it's there's a lot of great opportunity that's out there. You just have to pick your lane. There's no wrong answer, truly. And sorry, guys, I'm over here looking at the event side of stuff. For here on LinkedIn, I had a virtual event that I missed the start time again due to another technical glitch. Man, I tell you, technology's not been my friend this month, and so wanted to come live here and we just chat through a bunch of stuff as far as like what you can do as far as a blank canvas when it comes to land, because it's overwhelming the amount of possibilities, right? You look at the ability to put, I mean, anything and everything you want, desire, dream to on your piece of land, but you have to factor in real world issues, right? Your location, who you want to house. I'm passionate about affordable housing. Affordable housing, hospitality and tourism, and cattle ranching, like that's something that our team is working on behemothly. And you look at the ability to grow, not wide and quick, but deep and slow, right? Deep and slow. Slow and steady wins the race. And you don't want to take on too much more than you can chew, but you also want to make sure that you've got a good steady pace, because no risk, no reward. But when you're able to put together a good plan, a solid direction when it comes to your to what you want to do, the numbers make sense, but a lot of times what you don't foresee is either septic issues, civil issues, and NB issues. What is the location for what it's going to be used for? How close is it to the city, depending on your demographic, right? You want to house seniors. Like, are you trying to house those who are getting off of substances and addictions, coming out of incarceration to get back on their feet? Like, who are you called to, right? It all starts there. Who are you called to serve? But in addition, how can you make that make sense for today's money and tomorrow's money too? Now, it doesn't make sense otherwise. If you don't cross these boxes off and check them off, a lot of times you're going to run into issues and snags down the road. So a lot of times with when it comes to bigger tracts of land too, like 10 acres and everything else, you look at the ability to be able to get creative. So you want to make sure you're not trying to let me make sure I've got this. What's different? Hang on a second. Hey. Make sure I've got this handled. Yeah. God darn it, man. I cannot believe I missed that freaking event. I may do a round 2 replay for tomorrow, because that is such a daggum bummer. Oh, I hate that. I hate that so much. I cannot believe I missed the daggum thing. I'm so bummed. Anywho, it happens. But when it comes down to your ability to look at how can you find a good piece of land, right? Located in whatever makes the most sense, because at the end of the day, when you're looking at trying to serve a group of people, if you're that group of people and you're looking at what you're trying to build, would you live in it? Like, it sounds like a dumb question, and it sounds super basic, but honestly, when it comes down to when it comes down to when it comes down to what you're trying to accomplish, you need to make sure that you're making money all throughout the project, right? Because unless your goal is to just dump in money and you have a tax strategy, cool beans. But when it comes down to your ability to really grow and ensure that we've got, hang on, what is that? Oh, but make sure you have the ability as far as like to not just carry out the project, but also to make sure it's profitable all the way through. Because if it's not profitable all the way through, what's going to happen is that you're going to get bottlenecked in some area, and you're not going to be 100% sure on what you're trying to do. So, here we go. Alrighty. See if we have any comments. Let's get this out to YouTube as well. Oh, hang on 1 second. Trying to grab a water. BRB, y'all. 1 second. Alrighty, we're back. So one of the biggest things too over North Carolina, we've got some property that we're developing with a client right now. It's going to be a duplex, quadplex community, and when it comes down to the videos, or not videos, sorry, of the homes that we've got designed for them, the plots are almost ready. And what's cool is that with the project over in North Carolina, usually Nathan jumps in here, but when it comes down to the ability to make sure that we've got, hang on 1 second, cool bins. Hang on, just make sure all my text all lined up. But oh man, sorry. But with that project over there in North Carolina, we're building out a veteran community, so that way veterans with their VA loan. Most people don't know that with veterans with your VA loan, you can purchase a duplex and a quadplex and then rent out the other sides of it, right? And you can get super creative with that. And as far as purchasing the land and then looking at what kind of business model do you want to rent out? Do you want to rent out to other veterans? Do you want to do certain things as far as with those who are traveling professionals or do co-living? I mean, you can get really creative, right? FHA actually inducted duplexes into their program, which is super cool. But you look at all the what is the American dream, right? What is the American dream, and how can you position yourself in a way that makes the most sense? Because I mean, like when it comes down to our families, no one's coming to save us. So we have to do what we need to do to make sure that we've got a solid value proposition for whomever our in-person buyers can be, right? So it's just everything as far as like engineering a solid offer. It's a matter of making sure that you've got a good ground up feel, knowing exactly what you're walking into. And that's why, like, if you have land and you need a plan, don't just go to any old engineer or any old architect, right? You have to go to somebody that's going to help with cost of construction. Look at not more than just what it's going to look like. Look at the surrounding area. Look at the community. Look at the neighborhood. Look at it from a community development standpoint. Is this going to help all tides rise, or is this going to fit? Right. And that's what I think has created a huge, what's the right word? I would say, well, not a huge climb, but just unnecessary friction within communities. And so developers who don't think through certain things get punched in the face, and landowners who are ambitious that want to do, who mean well, that end up later on, not looking at a detail, overlooking something, and then it comes to bite them in the butt. So we want to make sure you've got all those areas covered. And a lot of folks do their best, but sometimes it can be a hassle. So hang on one second. Let me do this as well. Let's see. So let me do this because I'm going to incubate this out a little bit more over LinkedIn. And so that way with that screenshot, it is going all over LinkedIn right now. All right, so that'll be a fun one. But it's interesting because you look at the ability, because land, you look at the ability to put stuff on land, and it is truly a blank canvas. But you've got to be careful. You have to go through every single thing that you can think of when it comes down to I just realized, hold on one second. But you can do what you need to as far as it being a blank canvas, but you want to make sure that you've got every base covered as much as possible. So that way you avoid change orders, right? You look at the ability to go crazy with stuff. You can do whatever you want, absolutely. But at the end of the day, if you're not, hang on, I am live. All right, let me go ahead and do this because I'm going to get super creative with LinkedIn because it has been, I swear, technology, like I said earlier in this live stream, technology's been a real pain. So I'm doing these LinkedIn events and I somehow miss the start time, like by literally 30 seconds. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And so it's so frustrating. So over here about to apply this to LinkedIn. And let's get, wait, what? Oh, that's okay. Sure. Yes. Come on, man. There we go. All right. Next. So hopefully that kind of kicks it up a little bit. All righty. That should kick it out too, folks. All righty. Do. And let's pop back over here and see how we're doing. But anyway, so the biggest thing when it comes down to your land, you really got to look at what is the highest and best use, but also like you definitely want to look at as much density that you can put in there, unless your goal is to just do something that you're okay with as far as like with folks just checking out like what you want to do. Unless you want to, I mean, that's cool, but if you really want to do something that you want to do, then you need to have a team that can help you unpack all the sewage and stuff and all that kind of stuff. But you never know. I mean, there's a lot of folks that I've seen that have paralysis by analysis when it comes to their land and what they can do with it, and work the possibilities and work the angles. Right, you got to make sure it makes sense as far as the cost of construction compared to this, what it's going to sell for. I mean, you wouldn't buy a product, to invest into it unless you know you can make a return on it. So you got to think about it from that perspective always. But looking at what's that? Sorry. But looking at how can we, sorry, I thought I heard a noise. I thought my phone was on. I'm like, wait a minute, what? But that's where you want to look at how creative can you get with your land, not to do something that's going to be an eyesore where everyone in the community is going to look at you sideways at Walmart or Kroger or Target or wherever you go, right? But you want to make sure that you're doing right by yourself, by your company, by your family, and making sure that it makes sense. But find the middle ground, right? Find the middle ground of what helps to rise all tides in the community for not just now, right? Let's think down the road, 10 years down the road, as far as what the master plan is going to be in the city. or in the county, depending on what the local municipalities are trying to do with what they have available. And it's time to get creative. And you have to be able to make sure you have that understanding, knowing, okay, yeah, this is never a guarantee when it comes to the investor side of stuff, especially when you're putting deals together. Man, I'm telling you, if you've got the land, let you put together the plan, and that brings the investors. If you're the investor that doesn't have the land, I mean, you can start looking at land and trying to figure out what you want to do with it. But I would say that it's wiser to put the plan and the scope of work together to then find the land that can actually be suitable for that. That is a very smart way to go about it. Just like market research when you're starting a business. I mean, you may have an idea of what you're trying to offer, right? But you're never going to know until the market tells you. I mean, it is what it is. Like for me, the market's telling me that these LinkedIn events are stupendous. But when it comes down to timing, I got to make sure I'm on it. But when it comes to real estate, there's never a wrong answer. It's a matter of what you're positioned for, right? You may want to drive to get to somewhere, but what is going to get you there, right? And that's why with the feasibility studies, it's we do it at a flat fee, a flat rate fee, so that way you're not getting a bill for bloated engineering plans that may or may not work. But why would you want to put yourself in a position asking a buyer to pay $130,000 to $300,000 for something that they're looking at you like you have a third, ear on your lips or something? And you're like, how'd you get through that number? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, how creative can we get with the blank slate? Go at it a little bit different, and ensure that you're not stepping into a tar pit or a quicksand. And that's why it's like how creative can we get with what you have, with your resources, with your land, and making sure that you've got a solid true north. Because if you don't have a solid true north, what's going to happen is that every idea is going to sound amazing. And then you're going to be 9 months down the road with nothing to show for it. And you're wondering what is going on. And that's the last thing you want to be at, like last place you want to be at. And when it comes down to pulling permits, you definitely want to make sure that you've got a solid, quick understanding of what you're gonna accomplish, and looking at hard numbers, looking at everything under the sun, and saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and ensure that we've got the ability to knock this out. Put a couple $1,000 to it, right? And ensure that you've got everything you need understood, and then that way you've got a team that's already vetted everything with the city and understanding as far as alternatives to your plan. And so, anyways, a lot of great stuff there. Just go to tinyunplug.com and whenever you get a chance to look at stuff, but. We're actually about to. So if you guys have gone through that site, let me know your thoughts, please. Really pumped about that. That's why I'm like bummed because of the event, man. I wanted to get on there, but anyways, I'll live. But I want us to make sure that we've got a really good, clear understanding of what's possible, because a lot of times those who have land or they know people that have land, I mean, half the time people get distracted by the overwhelm, right? And when you're able to understand the possibilities of what you can do, you have your backups on your backups, and you know exactly what you're looking at. You don't have to worry about stuff. You don't have to stress out. You don't have to freak out. Hang on, let's make sure that we got. Let me see if oh, hello, that's myself. All right, so let's come back over here to the post and just check the comments over here, guys. There's a link with this video if you're seeing it on YouTube and Facebook. Double check that and go ahead and click that link and drop your comments down below. I'm just going to keep rambling until you guys have questions. So every Thursday, 4 p.m. Central is when we come here. And let me double check on this really quick. Golly, man, technology really just it's a pain in the butt today. But anyway, hopefully everyone's week has been going good. Oh, is that a reshare? What is happening here? Dude, my browser's all jacked up right now. But anyways, man, so a lot of the stuff when it comes to land overwhelm and things that you've got going on, it can get pretty sticky. You know, and there's a lot of stuff when it comes to FEMA, larger bodies of water too, right? I love working with raw land to get it entitled, to get it shovel ready, to go through construction development, complete construction development, whether you're going to hold it or if you're going to sell it. With configuring all these different moving pieces, we want to make sure you've got everything understood from the beginning before you formalize a contract, right? That's where you want to look at how can I make not just the biggest bang for my buck, but also to the longest return for my dollar, right? Not saying it's going to take that long to come back, but legacy wise, when you're done with this, what will people say, right? Some folks like I don't really care about what people say, no worries there. But also too, if you like the market and you want to come back and do more projects, that can make it that much more difficult because just like those who invest in you as far as they're betting on you, same thing for those when it comes to the city, like, oh, it's because of that guy, right? So that's where you want to keep that in mind. Not just to just shove in something for density's sake, but okay, let's go ahead and talk through each moving piece and make sure that the business model actually makes sense for everyone involved, right? For your shareholders, for yourself, for those in the community, for those renting, those leasing, whatever the case is, right? We're working with a client that's over in Houston right now. Dude, when they kick off their franchise, oh my gosh, dude, they leased up 90% faster in Houston than anybody else. Oh, huh? Like, yeah. And there's a lot of creative stuff that's going on when it comes down to just growth in the multifamily space. But those who are exhausted with the multifamily space, man, residential multifamily, I mean, if y'all haven't looked at that and checked it out, like a neighborhood that's gated and to where it's dedicated to either young professionals or younger couples or new home buyers or just empty nesters trying to downsize and simplify. I mean, you name it, right? And so there's a lot that can be done. And those of you who are seasoned in your space, I mean, gosh, scalability is a big deal, right? So you look at the functionality of where real estate is right now. We all have to be mindful of the cost of construction, the speed of construction. The reason why I say speed of construction is because, man, how many contractor issues are we all facing right now? Like anything and everything, man. It is absolutely bonkers. So when it comes down to the ability to analyze deals, analyze land, and look at the highest and best use of it, our land planning team is, I mean, I'd stack them up against anybody, man. Like let's run it, let's go crazy with it. But that's what I love about this industry, man. There's never a dull moment. Like, oh my God, there's always a problem to be solved, and most people are like, "Are you insane? Like, I want what that guy smoking." Like, I get it, cool. But for me, I love that thrill. I love that thrill. Okay, cool. Let's figure it out. Let's unpack it. And my team does too. Like the team, like they're all geniuses in their lanes. Oh my God. Like it's just incredible. So all that being said, we haven't had any comments on here. Yeah. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, cool. So guys, jump in. Let me know where you're, how you're doing, and jump on in because at the end of the day, I want us to have engagement, interaction. I want you to ask questions. If you see the link with this video, please jump in and do not hold back. If you're seeing this from the newsletter and you see this from the embed, definitely comment down below there. I'm keeping track of those comments as well. And so, guys, let's definitely crack open this egg. I promise I won't miss the next event timing on it because it is so frustrating. But let's absolutely go through what you want to accomplish, because at the end of the day, there's so much possibility with land. I mean, it's incredible. And I look at the ability for us to be able to, I mean, you look at how we can, because, okay, let's just kind of back up for a second and talk through engineering and architecture fees. I just for y'all who don't know me officially just yet, I live in Huntsville, Alabama. And for those of you who are not up to speed about Huntsville, Alabama, I love my town, but anyone who lives here will laugh when I tell you what I'm about to tell you. We overthink everything, not me, but as a town, we definitely overthink a lot of stuff. That this, and I say that because we are a town full of engineers. If you guys have ever seen the show Eureka, go watch it. That's pretty much Huntsville in modern times. We've got a ton of like mechanical, electrical, software, quantum. Yes, quantum. I know one of them. Quantum engineers, I already said mechanical. We've got civil engineers, obviously. Any type of engineer you can think of, they live here. Of course, duh, every city has a type of engineer, but when they're like 1 in 3 people, like like I said, I love Huntsville. I love town. But man, you have a question or conversation with an engineer. Nope, we gotta do this, this, and this, and this, and this. There's always a running joke in Huntsville. How many engineers does it take to put in a light bulb? Leave it there. But there's like I have seen so many land deals. Anyways, off that stupid stove box. Like there are so many land packages that I look at as far as underwriting and looking at the cost breaker, comparables, everything else, etc. And daggum 2/3 of the whole daggum sale price are the engineering fees. Like, oh, why? Why? And that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, man, if there was something that is a flat fee, cost controlled structure that we can maintain and have it make sense, why not? Right? Why the frick not? Because yeah, the name of the company is the Tiny Home Plug, but that's just to get your attention. We do way more than just tiny homes. Because half the time, tiny homes don't pencil unless you have the right structure, the right runway, the right demographic you plan on serving, because that demographic is your end buyer, right? Or end buyers, right? But that's where you want to make sure, or demographics, but you want to make sure that who's the buyer? Who is going to be the end buyer of this, even if you end up doing an entitlement play, because you got to think that far. You have to think that far. And so that's where with our partners, we'll provide the units, and we'll make sure that we've got what you need lined up and in sync from the beginning. And all of you manufacturers that are out there, this is why you're going to love us, because we do all that dream weaving for you. So that way, PFS, structuring of what the financing and funding needs to be. Like we've got somebody on the team that does all the underwriting and financial modeling and everything, coordinating and like structuring it all. So that way, even if you have an underwriting team that they're busy on other stuff, we can take those precepts and those formulas and your underwriting guidelines and then put that into everything, because that's what you need. You need a special ops level fractional team who can handle this, that helps you on a cost control. It sounds too good to be true, but it's not. And with our projects in North Carolina, I really wish Nathan was on here. But with our projects in North Carolina, stuff going forward in Bama, we're about to kick off a really sweet project in Oklahoma. We're about to double down on a project up in Tennessee, and so we're with a big, massive 800-acre RV resort in Tennessee. Yeehaw, Tim McGraw. Okay, so that is where it gets really fun too, because that's a whole other animal with the event space, catering, layers of all that. I mean, the goal is like, how can we create an experience that $1,000 to $1,500 a head for a 2-day to 3-night stay, right? Including everything. Totally doable. And it's not insane. I mean, for the right occasions, yeah, it's totally cool with pretty much everybody. And I only need to say one word, and the excuses are demolished. Disneyland. Anyways, weddings, but like, anyways, corporate retreats, all that kind of stuff. It's like that's what's really cool with the hospitality side of things. It's like tiny homes are great, container homes are great. They only like, yeah, and that's where like material makeup is fine too. It's like this like different types of material makeups comparatively to their traditional stick frame. They're decent in certain business models, but man, I could talk for days about issues on, like you've got metal frames, then you've got container homes, you've got other stuff, and a lot of things that, as far as like specialty type builds, you have to make sure contractors and the throughput, everything as far as timelines and availabilities, financing lines up, that doesn't fall through because then everything else will fall apart. Like, I mean, you've got to make sure that when you're engineering a deal, especially when you've got like when we're doing feasibility studies, we got to make sure that we line out exactly what you're working with. And guys, if you're tuning in, hit the link around the video and say hello, because I have this broadcasting over on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So definitely say hello so that way it can pop up on my dashboard, over here. I'm pointing over here so that way, but anyways, it's actually over here, but whatever. Same as it's all inverted. But yeah, drop a comment and say, hey, let me know where you're watching from. But when it comes down to your projects and your development, like you really need to start off with understanding that anything can happen when you're planning. You may have a good intention in place, but you have to mitigate and balance that expectation. Despite no matter where you're at with your projects, no matter what happens. I mean, shoot, several projects we started out, we thought we were going to get a certain amount of density, we got to shift and everything else. Yeah, that's how it happens. You start out with a good concept, a good direction, and daggum half the way through, you don't really understand what's going on. Right. And so, yeah, man, I mean, you got to be very careful on what you're looking at and considering, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. You're truly providing something that someone else wants to live in. I mean, that's why I always ask myself, would I want to live in that? If that was me, like, no matter what, I mean, I don't care if it's affordable housing, veteran housing, whatever. Like, there's good ways to make good use of space instead of it being all like a sardines can, right? Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't like that. I mean, heck, I've been on hard times, and dude, I've had to rebuild, and I had to deal with the beggars can't be choosers, right? But then again, it's like, okay, cool, that's one purpose. What is the other purpose for it too? Like, what can we down the road pivot into using? That's why I love 3-2s and up, because if you are a duplex, it has a 3-2 on each side, right? Like, I love that as a starter home simply because it provides options. Right? As somebody's building it, single family homes are sound cool, but my preference, duplexes all day, because it gives you multiple options, and also too gives that person, that end buyer, a built-in business. That's the American dream. Think about it. Single family homes are cool, but of course, given current perks, current septic, fill in the blank, right? Everything has its own thing. But at the end of the day, if you can increase density, and you can add value in the sense of saying, okay, you don't need to pay your mortgage, someone else can. Well, that just gave me incentive to keep it clean and keep it taken care of, but also gave me incentive to do it again. I want to stop at one. Shit, when duplexes got inducted to the FHA program, my God. I mean, dude, we're about to. I mean, you talk about with the land plots, we've got some land plots all throughout Florida that we're packaging up and putting together some floor plans that'll be either duplexes or quads side by side. And yeah, and it's going to be rock and roll cool, because you look at the ability to create not just a livable experience, but something that can increase your ability for return on investment, but then also too give you the room to go do it again. Wild. And that's one thing I freaking love, man. I absolutely love it. I'm having a blast, unpacking all these things as far as with folks. And there are challenges. I mean, there's so much that's going on, and I'm here for it, man. I'm not throwing shade on anybody or saying if you got problems, you got another one. Like his is life, right? But that's where a lot of folks, man, I've had people come back to us, from 2 years ago. They're like, man, I knew I should have went with you, and I'm so sorry. I'm like, I don't care. We're here now. It's all good. Let's go. And at the end of the day, when it comes to your project, your campus, your land, you have the ability to start with what you have, with where you're at, and also leverage a flat fee. I mean, set aside 5K and for the 5K to 25K, and we don't ask for a penny more until we know that we're bulletproof on the plan, given septic, sewage, water, FEMA, water levels, any kind of like soft dirt, fill dirt, whatever, fill in the blank, fill in the stutter. Who cares, right? Ruben stutter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're going to go through anything and everything as far as what the heck you need to do to hit some numbers that are going to be worth your time. Because if you spend time doing this and you miss out on an opportunity, that's what they call opportunity cost, right? Duh. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we need to make sure that you've got your ducks in a row without committing to a 20, 250, $100,000 engineering package or a fee, and no one wants to buy it. Talk about a gut punch, man. That's when the opportunity becomes concrete shoes. So we came up with what we came up with, and we figured it would be a great way to help buffer everyone on all sides, because we understand modular, man. Like we eat, sleep, and breathe weird factory built stick frames. So because they check off all the boxes for one, and when it comes down to contractor challenges and all that kind of stuff, overbuilding is phenomenal. But again, everything has to pencil. The numbers have to make sense, and you got to be okay with it. So, considering all of that, you got to think down the road, man. You got to think down the road of, okay, when I'm done with this, I got to remember this is my turn with it. Even though I'm building it, this is my turn with it. It may be first, it may be second, third, fifth, 1 millionth. Who cares, right? I don't know who would be the millionth person owning a home, but I talk about no equity. But anyways. That's where I want you to lean in. I want you to understand and know that no matter what you have at the palm of your hands as far as land goes, or even assets, or even finance or funding right now, like if you don't have the direction, don't worry. That's why we're in existence. That's why we do what we do, because then you're going to have the blueprints on a preliminary basis, and then we transition to make sure that we go ahead and stamp them. Make sure that you've got what you need to then lay out the game plan for moving forward. Because then you're going to have, if it's a big enough project, you're going to have to lay out marketing. You're going to need to know as far as construction timelines and what you need to get in as far as commitments, renderings, all nine. So at the end of the day, you need to know what you're looking at, and from the beginning, not halfway through it and saying, oh, I was following your lead. I can't stand it. Like, so here's the thing. Let me just back up before I put my foot in my mouth. I've never understood why, because, I've never understood why those who don't know what to do go to somebody else who doesn't have direction. Like, yes, you can know how the Legos fit together, but if you don't know the business plan or the model or the underwriting that you need those numbers to hit, I mean, the engineer and the architect don't do any good. They don't. I love you guys. I do. I love y'all to death. Love you to pieces. But without that business acumen or that strategy, that as far as within that asset class, okay, so if we're going to go this route, what are we planning on doing? Okay. Then given that time frame, what is that sales cycle? What's the buyer psychology? Going through literally everything. Okay. That was a little bit of a little spoof on a syllable there. But jokes aside, though, those are the intangibles most people don't even consider. But when it comes from the engineering standpoint, some people, for some reason, have a misconception that engineers are business strategists or just business developers. And that's what's interesting. So that being said, really cool stuff. because at the end of the day, that's where we lay out that blueprint, we lay out that ground, that plan. And that's why we do what we do. We love to pull all the intangibles together, play devil's advocate, make sure you see everything from an Eagles eye view. How do you know what you're looking at? Because I mean, why you ever have that employee that works in the wrong direction or that business partner and you're like, I told you not to do that, and then they send you a bill for stuff, then you're just like, huh? You don't want that, right? You don't want that type of relationship, that weird type of tension where you're like, I swear I told you this. If you overdid that, that's your fault. Like, you could have, right? But that's not the thing you want with an engineer. You don't want them running at 10,000 miles down the other direction. You want them focused, zeroed in. Exactly, here's the scope. If you overshot it, bring it back to the middle. Because here's the thing, a lot of times engineers will stick you with a change order, and that's your fault, right? So that's where we want to help you avoid that as much as freaking possible in the beginning, on the front end, and that's my spiel. So that being said, I appreciate all of you who are catching this replay. Everyone who caught the replay from the last time, man, I'm telling you, like, we had a lot of great conversations with those who book times on the calendar. Go through the contact page on tinyhomeplug.com. And let me know your thoughts on the website. Let me know how that is, okay? Because at the end of the day, I want you guys to be able to scroll through the tinyhomeplug.com website, go through the feasibility study page, unpack it, look at our role in development. What do we actually do? That way you know exactly how the roll up is going to be, and that way you have a very clear perspective, less explanations, and you and I both know. Sorry, I'm over. I just ate I'm halfway through my grilled cheese sandwiches when I started the live stream. But that's where when you have a plan, you can bring your funding partners, you can bring your whole entire contractor team to the table to know exactly what needs to be done from not just the business plan perspective, as far as what's going to pay for what, and who's going to pay for who, and wash out who, right? But then also too making sure that you've got a very solid light at the end of the tunnel that is viable, that can be constituted, and that's not something that's just theoretical. That's the key. So with that being said, if you have land and you need a plan, call the Tiny Home Plug and just grab the time with us, because I want to hear your story. I want to hear what you're working on. I want to hear how cool that is. I was met with a guy a while back that, we were talking about modular classrooms and how, that sparked me into even having more conversations in that realm. And when we're on these live streams, and yeah, if you guys have questions, drop them in the comments, because that can inspire others as well. Don't share your whole business on here and be weird about it, but definitely, please message us, email me, email the team, do what you need to do to get in contact. Because if you've got land and you need a plan, like, I am so sick and tired of all these folks being stuck with unnecessary things that won't pencil, that don't really work. But I'm telling you, at the end of the day, when it comes down to what you need done and accomplished, man, I can't wait to hear your vision, because there is a way to do it. We just got to find it and then help you get in a position to be able to knock that out. Because if your plan is sound and the numbers make sense, and you're in a position to execute, man, the right people and the right team will come. I promise you that. So I'll stop rambling on, but I appreciate you joining me on this replay. And if you guys are catching the replay, I appreciate you. If you're live right now, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. But so much to come. So much to come for 2025, guys. So tune in. We're gonna do one for next week, since I missed the time on this one. Every 2 weeks, man. That's what we have it as far as twice a month. So I do want to do one at the end of this month. So in 10 days. So I'll go ahead and schedule that out. Not 10 days, sorry, 8 days for the end of the month. So we'll get that taken care of. And y'all, I just appreciate you. I appreciate you and your passion for canceling the housing crisis, because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with it has everything to do with you making money. But at the end of the day, it's about the forgotten middle. The forgotten middle class for those who are trying to make it make sense, for those who have the F-150 outside, living paycheck to paycheck with 3 kiddos and trying to make ends meet, the forgotten middle. Let's focus on creating affordable housing to sustain those who are maintaining our economy, those who are maintaining our businesses, maintaining those who have businesses that need maintaining. Like literally, I don't care what shape, form, or fashion, or what shade of hue or whatever you've got. I genuinely don't care. I don't care how funny looking you feel. The forgotten middle, those that are living paycheck to paycheck, those who are struggling, let's make houses for them instead of just things that are going to rent. Let's actually make it make sense from the business model perspective for residential multifamily and give them a duplex. The NACA program, FHA, it doesn't matter. But why don't we let's popularize that. Let's popularize the investment model that is social impact investment driven to provide affordable housing for those that really need it, to give them a business, to cover the note. I think that sounds good. Because guess what? Residential multifamily, for all you multifamily guys who are exhausted and want to get out of it. Hey, I've got colleagues and business partners that love apartment complexes that they're building them. So look, there's no wrong answer to this. I'm just saying, for those of you that are burnt out and exhausted and want to shift to something else that has a more flexible exit strategy, duplex communities. Think it through. Check it out. But when it comes down to your options and what you can do as far as selling them off one by one instead of selling everything and then it decaying, not decaying, but you know what I mean, it's, stagnating as far as the sales cycle. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool alternative. But you also get to give people equity too. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it, but I'll tell you, man, there's so much when it comes down to the residential multifamily approach, building neighborhoods and using duplexes to do it. Sometimes comps don't favor duplexes, but that's why it's not always that the best fit for stuff. But when you can make it work, love it. So, anyways, I have a hard stop in 4 minutes. I appreciate you, and those of you who caught the live who didn't tune in, I appreciate and love all of you. You're going to catch the replay as well. So, thank you so much, guys. If you need a plan and you've got land, book a time, tinyhomeplug.com/contact. The application is there to identify exactly what you need, what asset class you're pursuing towards that you want to explore, but then also to a size project. So we have solutions for the smaller projects all the way up to the 10 million plus projects. If you're into the weeds of 22 million and all of that, fantastic. We're working on a 700-acre project over in Oklahoma. Not too scared about 30 to 50 or even 150 acres. It's totally fine. So I appreciate you again, and thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you soon and hearing your vision about your project.